Today is going to be another video talking about progress on a stupidly hard level, and this time it's going to be Extra Nuggy's progress on Angelicide. Angelicide is an impossible extreme made by Yuko that is top 1. Now, there is an unnerfed version of this that is a lot more difficult than the versions that we're seeing getting beat. However, there's currently a bunch of people that are playing their own tweaked versions of Angelicide, with some of them not actually being that much easier. I'm not going to be talking about the other people too much in this video. It's going to be focusing on Extra Nuggies. However, I will just quickly mention them here. We have Kaza, who has 37 to 107 deaths on his version of Angelicide. And Cookie has been playing his version, getting 37 to 48 2 weeks ago, after 1.3 million attempts, and also a month ago did 14%. But today we're going to be focusing on Extra Nuggies, or Druki, however you want to say it. To both of those names, I think Nuggies goes by, but I'm just going to say Extra Nuggies because it's on the YouTube channel, it's easier for me to say. But as you can see, he has the most progress. I mean, top 1 in free runs, and Angelicide in free runs is actually crazy. When I saw this, I couldn't believe it. But we're going to be talking about the latest video 2 hours ago, where Extra Nuggies got 48 to 95%. This is the deepest run we've seen on Angelicide. This was nearly over half the level just done in one run. We could have even seen a 48 to 100 nearly if a couple more clicks were just passed. But yeah, 48 to 95, incredibly crazy. I also just want to say, I wonder what it's like watching a Druki stream or an Extra Nuggy stream for this long, seeing all of this in the video. Like, how do people concentrate in the level? There's so much going on the screen. But anyways, yeah, this is super impressive. Now, I'll pull it up in the impossible levels list here, because as you can see, the reason why I find Angelicide to be crazy is, like, the gameplay looks so awkward. You see this? Like, the fact that that is something a human's doing at a consistent rate genuinely amazes me. And the craziest thing is, let's run that back, right? That is heavy CPS. That is actually crazy. And from what I know, Extra Nuggies doesn't alternate. How are you I know that alternating is a very recent skill and only a couple people have it, but I feel like with a level like this you would have to alternate, but I guess not. Just how does Extra Nuggies, you know, not have carpal tunnel already from this? How do you not have arthritis after this high CPS with just a single finger tapping? I highly recommend you go watch this video. This is where I found that fact out. This is a Vernosis video. He recently did a podcast with, well, not very recently, but he did a podcast with Extra Nuggies and goes over a lot of stuff, and it's where I got some of this info. Highly recommend it. It was a really fun to watch. But yeah, in that video they go over the difficulty, and Nuggy says that we shouldn't really base our opinions off the ILL, which is completely valid because the ILL does not know how to place levels. It just gives a very vague estimation for you. However, what I found interesting was that apparently Druki, or Extra Nuggy's version here, is the most awkward of the 3 main ones. I know there's more Angelicide versions, but the 3 main ones are Cookie's, Kaz's, and Extra Nuggy's. So this is the most awkward one and potentially the hardest one. So basically, instead of making a really enjoyable version, Extra Nuggies decided to go the route of just trying to verify the unnerfed version, and if there was any part that was just not possible, there was no way he was ever getting consistent with it, he would nerf those parts. It leaves you with a level that's very true to the original, but also very jank, because, you know, at the start this was meant to be impossible, and, you know, very impressive. Another problem with the difficulty is that it's kind of hard to get difficulty takes from people like Extra Nuggies, because when you look here, Angelicide is all he plays. So it's kind of really hard for him to base this level against anything else, because he can't really compare it to anything, because Extra Nuggies is so focused on Angelicide. Like, see how many streams there are. All these streams are just Angelicide, which is really impressive. But again, it's just hard to get a difficulty estimate. Now, as the number one player in Geometry Dash, of course, I have to give my take on this, and I honestly don't know. This thing looks really raw, really impossible. I don't know where I would think this would place. Most of the current top players have decided to take shots at levels like Heliopolis and Sweeping Demon 2, and they've also been given little copies of Grief to play for a day, so they kind of understand those difficulties, but I've kind of struggled to figure out a real estimate for this level. We could probably say confidently that this is easier than Eternus. I think both of these levels were originally considered the, like, upper limit. This is gonna be the hardest thing we can ever do. This is gonna be the skill limit. And I think that now that we've seen Angelicide get close to being done in 2 runs, while Eternus is still stuck in this kind of 8 to 10 run range, it kind of makes me think that this is a lot easier than that. I know we've seen less people specifically go for Angelicide, however, I think that we can make that assumption. There's a very good chance it's harder than Heliopolis. The problem with that being Heliopolis is gonna get buffed if that's the case anyways, if it isn't verified first, so we can't really consider that level. I think this is probably harder than Grief. I'm gonna get a lot of people that probably disagree with that, but I do think Grief is just slightly overrated in our minds just because Doggy's been playing it for so long, but most of that has been Mind Block. I still think Grief is stupidly hard and is harder than a lot of the current upcoming top ones that are nearly getting verified, but I think this could be harder. But we really can't know until it's verified. All that we can say for certain is that this is 100,000% harder than Thinking Space 2. This will definitely be top 1 if it was verified now. However, it might not end up being top 1 just because of how many top 1s we're actually seeing get major progress on. As I'm editing this, the GD News Center also said that Druki got 48 to 95 on Angelicide. They made a post on it, and they said that this run is harder than Andromeda, which means maybe Extra Nuggies thinks that this is actually, like, harder than Andromeda, which means this run alone is probably top 10, which again makes me kind of believe that if this is top 1, which I do believe in, it's probably not going to be, like, the peak of the top ones. Like, it's not gonna be the Eternus level, though it's probably gonna be harder than a couple of the top ones that are about to be verified. I have the future version of the global demon list pulled up, not to look at these difficulties. I'm not going to take these difficulties as legit. I'm just doing this to see what top ones there currently are. But I want to talk about when we could see Angelicide verified and maybe what levels will be verified by the time it's top 1 so that we can get that estimate. So in that Vernosis interview I talked about, Druki or Extra Nuggies said that he believes that he's going to verify Angelicide at the start or mid-end of 2027. Usually when people give estimates like that, they're a bit wrong and it ends up taking a tiny bit later. So we could probably say late 2027 this is going to be verified. So a year and a bit. In a year and a bit, I do think Grief's going to get verified. I know the joke is that we all say, okay, Grief's going to be verified by this date, and it never is, but I genuinely think that it's going to be verified. Cockmuck Unleashed, I'm actually unsure of. It's kind of weird the progress that our Shadow gets, but there's a chance that is. Sweeping Demon 2 obviously will, Silent Acropolis obviously will, and Society obviously will. I think those will be. Eternus is obviously going to get a lot more progress, but it's not going to be verified. Stuff like Exasperation and Fairy Knife Hell also could be, but yeah, it's a bit iffy. It depends if people actually pick them up. I think they're totally doable in a year's time, but it's the fact, will Zoink come back to it? I know he's waiting for the Decorate version to come out, so will that come out in time? And will anyone actually pick up Fairy Knife Hell in time? But from those levels in a year time, if they're all there, I think that it's just undeniable. I think with so many top 1s by then, it's almost like certain that there'll be probably one level that ends up being harder. Again, you have to realize that most people that are going for this level, they're not exactly the best in skill. Like, they're still really good players, but, like, for example, I believe Kaz's hardest is Acheron, which it is, but, like, even with that, even with Acheron as a hardest, Kaz's still's best run is 37 to 100 in 7 deaths. Which means if we want to see this verified in a reasonable amount of time, we probably need to see someone who's at least beaten a top 5, like who's at least at that tidal wave level. Obviously, I have no doubts that people like Kaza and Cookie can actually beat Angelicide and Extra Nuggies. Obviously, they can. It's just if we wanted to see this done in a reasonable amount of time, we would have to see someone at that skill. I don't really have much more to say though. Good luck to Extra Nuggies on following through and getting better runs here. He streams pretty frequently, 17 hours ago, a day ago, 7 days ago, 8 days ago, 3 weeks ago. So if you want to catch one of those streams, go in there. But yeah, don't have much more to say. Thanks for watching and peace.